Okie dokie. Ready?
Yep.
So second topic.
Sorry, I was just, when you said that, I was just going, okay. Coming up, David, you spent the day in Paris yesterday.
I did. We're going to talk about the transparency survey that we launched this week.
Yep. And finally, we'll look at some themes coming out of the Mobile World Congress. Hello and welcome to IDCOM's Media Snack, episode 13. Lucky.
For some.
So today, you spent the day in Paris yesterday with the WFA, so we'll talk a bit about that.
Yeah, we launched this week our transparency survey, and we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and also this week, as you may be aware, is Mobile World Congress Week, and so there's some interesting stories coming out of that, and we'll pick on a couple of those and the impact on mobile advertising. All coming up on today's Media Snack in just the time it takes to eat a sandwich. So first up this week, you've been spending some time in Paris with the WFA.
That's right. It's a very privileged environment for me to be in. I was with the sourcing forum of the WFA, the procurement teams.
And so just to clarify, so the WFA is the World Federation of Advertisers, which is a trade body representing some of the largest global advertisers.
That's right, yeah. And so last October we collaborated with the WFA on a study.
Yeah.
And they sent this question out to their members. We got the findings back. I presented to the US Sourcing Forum in New York in December. And yesterday's meeting was the European team.
Yeah. And so, what are some of the? What was the kind of purpose of the research? What was it looking at? Because we obviously can't talk about the results, right? No. Because the WFA will subsequently publish those.
That's right. So it was understanding how organisations structure themselves internally, both from a marketing and procurement perspective. Who has accountability and responsibility for what different functions within the kind of the marketing communications processes. Yeah. And to see whether there are any kind of commonalities, whether there are any serious outliers, and whether there are any key insights that they could share with all of their members. Yeah, fascinating stuff.
And in our experience, the trade organisations, we think doing really good work because they create these fantastic forums and bring all these amazing brands together to share learnings.
Absolutely.
So why is it important now, do you think, to think about operational structures? Why does that seem pertinent?
Well, I think, frankly, because the media industry is so dynamic, right? It's changing so quickly. There is a great deal of confusion, I think, out there. And the way that an organisation structures itself to best capitalise on the opportunities that are out there, I think is really sensible. And I think by understanding how lots of companies do it, the WFA members can get a lot of insight and get a lot of value from it.
Okay, well that sounds like good stuff. We haven't got a date yet for the white paper being published.
No, but I think that's the next key milestone. So the idea is that a white paper will be published, available to WFA members, and so we'll look to help to contribute to that as well.
Yeah, good. Look out for that if you're a WFA member.
So the second topic we're going to cover today is an area that we mentioned last week, and it's to do with our transparency survey that we officially launched earlier this week.
Yes, indeed we did, because we talked last week a little bit about the relationship between trust and transparency and the need that we thought to try and elevate conversation around media transparency out of those kind of toxic elements that us and many other people have been talking about for many, many months, and just try and get back to this idea of improving mutual understanding. Yeah. And so we've been working on this for quite a while. We mentioned it in the Media Snack last week about the survey that we're going to do, which is the beginning of a series of initiatives that we're looking into transparency as a kind of bigger business principle. Yeah. So the survey is now out. We'll provide links to it. We've distributed it through our own email database, but hopefully this will kind of reach out to others, and we encourage you to take a look at it and be very grateful for your participation. And it's open to global, regional, local marketers, procurement leaders, agency leaders, other consultants, journalists, anybody with a kind of point of view, because it's quite an open hypothesis, right? And what we're looking at actually is the idea of whether transparency generally can breed trust.
Yeah.
And actually, if trust is a component of really good, highly productive business relationships, that's what this purpose of the survey is.
So it's a slightly more macro perspective. Yeah.
Which I think is, it hopefully will help elevate the conversation a little bit back to where it should be. So it was issued yesterday. We've already had a overwhelming response, frankly, in the last 24 hours. The survey's open until end of next week, so 4th of March.
And then what's going to happen? What are we going to do with the results?
So then we do a bit of analysis. So we've got a bit of analysis to do, and the plan is to be able to report back to anyone that's contributed. You leave your email address, and then we will send back a very simple report which aggregates and anonymizes all of the respondents because it's fully confidential. Yeah. And that will give us some insights into how much transparency might affect trust, how important trust is in business relationships, and then looking specifically at media, we look at some, what areas may be contributing to levels of transparency.
And that's the bit that I'm most interested in, to see where the key sources are of concern when it comes to transparency, because it's a pretty broad church at the moment, transparency and the issues around it. So being able to identify what those pressure points are, I think will be really interesting.
That'd be good. I hope it contributes to the debate. It's timely because, as we've talked about a lot, there's lots of investigation and questions around media transparency, whether it's ad blocking, which we're going to talk a little bit about later, or rebates and all these kind of areas that are being investigated. So our contribution to that is to perhaps try and get some insight into which areas of transparency perhaps are considered the most important and influential in building relationships. So that's the survey. We'll provide the links to it. Please participate, please contribute, and look out for the report in your inbox at the end of March.
Looking forward to that.
Okay, finally this week, some new developments on ad blocking.
That's right. So
what's going on?
Well, we heard recently that some of the big mobile operators are beginning to investigate, or at least consider bringing in ad blocking at a network level, which is relatively unheard of. So three have partnered up with a technology company called Shine, and they only specialise in ad blocking technologies. And so they've done a partnership with them at a network level. And then there's EE, which is the largest mobile operator in the UK with 27 million customers. Wow. Investigating, bringing in, or intervening at an ad blocking level at a network.
And this would mean, so as a user, my network provider, right, which I use EE, so my network provider would enable me to control, to kind of switch on total ad blocking, or start to control what ads and how they appear and all these kind of things. So they're in an incredibly powerful position, I guess, these networks, rightly so, given that they've got these networks of users. But that must be having big implications for the mobile advertising industry, right?
But it tells you that the corporations themselves, the CEOs of these organisations, are taking an interest in the quality of the advertising or the consumer experience that their 27 million customers are having through the quality or bad or good of the ads that are being served through the mobiles.
And to what extent is that? Because some of the reporting that's come out around it that we've read is obviously saying we want to improve the consumer experience. There's been a lot of complaints from users, and I think one of the CEOs even said, mobile advertising is crappy, and so therefore, of course, you want to block it. So there's a part about protecting the user experience.
And the data charges that go along with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big point.
Because people are paying to download ads through their data plans,
which are intrusive,
and slowing down downloads. And so you can see that the user experience could be improved from that. But also they're in an incredibly powerful position because they are blocking the entire, mobile advertising industry, and in theory they could kind of hold the industry to ransom, right? To say it's pay to play, and they could start to monetize that gate.
And perhaps they're considering doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But I mean, it's a land grab at the moment.
Yeah, and so I think one of the networks is I think it was the 3 network here. Which said that they are planning some meetings with the advertising industry. So I guess that they know the powerful position that they're going to be in, and they want to work in collaboration with the ad industry, which could mean there's a cost to play somewhere down the line. But interestingly, that they are exerting this this influence now. And it's something that's come out. This week is Mobile World Congress Week in Barcelona, which is an annual event which gathers together anybody with a kind of interest and perspective on mobile, whether that's technology or networks or advertising. And this has really kicked up a storm.
Because Sir Martin Sorrell had a point of view on this, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Which is uncommon, really, for him. He doesn't normally speak out so clearly on these things. But he presented at the Mobile World Congress on Monday, I think, and made the point, which I think is quite well understood. It made the point to the delegates there that mobile's share of ad spend globally is about 6%. But if you compare and contrast that with actually the amount of time, which I think is a Mary Meeker kind of obsession, is the time spent within different media channels, is about 25% now of consumers' media time is spent on mobile. It's
completely disproportionate.
It is. So the ad industry generally has always said, great opportunity for growth in mobile ad spend, actually directing brands quite, intentionally to say, upspend on mobile because look at this gap. But there's always been consideration and hesitation over the quality of mobile advertising and therefore the user experience. And we've all complained of the mobile ads, and now the networks have come right in and said, we're in charge of this.
This is it.
And that might stunt the development or that growth.
Or provoke, an improvement in the industry.
Yeah, which is probably what it needs to do.
Absolutely.
So actually the result could be that
positive.
Their intervention is quite positive because it's going to force the industry backwards to rethink about how you improve that customer experience. And that's got to be good for everybody.
But it's going to be something that's going to affect all of us. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, that's it for this week. Please do the survey. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.
Have a good weekend.
Good.
Done.
Great.